You got me, Marky Bilson. It's Tri-City Sports Now, 1420 WEMB Sports Radio, as well as JetBroadcasting.live. And folks, we're giving away those Dollywood tickets. You really want to check this out. July 9th, I got a big drawing. All you got to do, like us on Facebook, 1420 WEMB Sports Radio. You can watch this show whenever you want to. It's on archive on the Facebook page. I slug it. You watch it in podcast form. So let's say, hey, I want to hear about who Marky says is that player on the Kingsport Mets that maybe could be the Mets catcher. Hey, that sort of thing. All right, we can do that. But then also, flip side of this, you take a look at... maybe that's not what you want, the Appalachian League. Maybe that's not your thing. Talked a lot of baseball today, but maybe you want to talk about or listen to what I had to say about revisionist history at the Athletic. Gary Patterson, it was always, come on. 2009, the hot thing to do was to hire Lane Kiffin, to hire the ex-NFL coach, and you could get the youngest and the brashest, and who cared if Al Davis? Oh, man. We probably should have listened to Al Davis. This old man thing. What about wisdom? Al Davis wrote the book on free agency and its time in the NFL. Think about that. Think about all those players the Raiders used to have back in the day. Oh, they're flakes. And in stodgy, militaristic NFL, we don't want a Ted Hendricks who the stork jumping up and down after the Baltimore Colts tie the game up in Super Bowl V. And Davis and the Raider philosophy was, wait a minute, we can get Ted Hendricks? Who cares if he's jumping up and down like a madman? They tied the game. We would jump up and down like a madman if we... Look at us on the sideline. We do this. No, come to us. And that's why you don't think of the stork as playing for the Colts. And he won a Super Bowl there. No. You think of him as a Raider. Unless you're some Baltimore or something like that, It was the Baltimore Colts in those days. Yes, anyway, you're familiar with that. I hope you are, at least. Anyway, it's Tri-City Sports Now. I am Marky Bilson. And one of the things that's going on in Major League Baseball is the Manny Machado suspension. And boy, this is another situation of the power of unions. And, we can talk about this. You're always going to have the it's a political divide. The left is always going to tell you it's the greedy corporation that looks down at the workers and doesn't give them their fair share. I could use a raise. And then there's also the school of thought, and I will never forget this. My grandfather telling me once he said, why the American car industry is failing. And he always bought American cars. Okay, and by that I mean the traditional domestic automakers. Yes, I know that they have traditionally, where they make BMWs in South Carolina, and is it Toyota? Is it Nissan? I forget which is made in Tennessee, or all that. Okay, whatever. Is it Volkswagen they make in Chattanooga? Anyway, they don't make them around here, so I just not that familiar. Anyway, the thing that I'm looking at here is I remember my grandfather talking about, look, this is sort of where sometimes you get that 0-2 count in American cars because they're going to a factory and they, are interviewing a gentleman and he says, well, what do you make in a year? I make $52,000 a year, and this is a previous generation, so that's really a nice wage and all that. What do you do, sir? Oh, I put the mat in the trunk of the car. Now, as my grandfather would say, look, he has seniority. I realize that maybe, with seniority, you get a bit more of a cushier job and you are still paid well. Don't get me wrong, but doesn't that seem to be a little ridiculous right there? And he had a point and all this. Okay, so similarly, we now see, I think, the situation in baseball with unions, where you can't punish our player until we appeal, and when I first heard about the Manny Machado suspension, arguing balls and strikes with this weekend, the umpire Bill Wyke, and I usually take the side of the umpires and all this. I thought, boy, only a one-game suspension for touching an umpire? I mean, that used to be 3 easy. Boy, the Players Union has really picked up steam. Then I saw, that was my first inclination. I saw the video, and I'm like, did he really even touch the umpire, Wyke? I guess there's no E-N in there. Wyke is his name. Bill Wyke, okay? He's a veteran umpire. Did he even really touch? Okay, you want to throw him out, you're arguing balls and strikes. That's a big no-no. Then you throw down your bat. Okay, you want to toss him. I get it. Suspension, But if there was the incidental contact, okay. Here's the deal, though. Then it becomes union against union. Because you got the umpires union. And the umpires union then starts going on social media saying, what in the world? No! You can't be hitting us. Now, this is not, Babe Ruth and Ernie Shore's perfect game punching an umpire. No, this is, really it looks like incidental contact, and I'm not suggesting that Machado shouldn't have been ejected from the game. Again, baseball rules, you are not, so a manager is automatically ejected for arguing balls and strikes. Okay? Similarly, I mean, when you think about, guys getting tossed from the dugout, that's it, that sort of thing. It usually is that bench jockeying, from the dugout, and usually on balls and strikes. So, you want to toss Machado because he's upset, he didn't like your call and all that. Yeah, you got to keep that game going, Mr. Umpire. I get it totally. Throws his bat down, I'm with you. Contact did seem to be incidental. I got to give you, okay, 1 game suspension. I wouldn't have suspended him even in the old days 3, to tell you the truth. I don't, I just thought it was sort of incidental. And plus, Padres might not really be going anywhere, but, I still want to give, it's Machado. You want him in the lineup. Come on. I mean, people pay their money to see him play, don't they, So anyway, now the umpires union has taken to social media, and let me give you an example. First they went to Twitter, then they went to Facebook, and they wrote this. Manny Machado was suspended 1 game for contact to an umpire during an argument over balls and strikes while violently throwing his bat against the backstop. That did happen. The contact did seem to be incidental. I don't want you to think that he was like balling his fist or anything like that. It's more like, what you might do to someone in a crowded elevator, that sort of thing. No regard to anyone's safety. That's a little bit much. 1 game, 1 single game. What kind of precedent is that setting? It is not okay to throw a temper tantrum and physically touch someone of authority just because you don't agree. I agree with all this stuff, but the thing is, just look at this. Again, the contact, I think that's the best way to say it, like crowded elevator. Probably going to touch the guy next to you. Think about that, Violence in all workplaces is not tolerated, period. Is this violent? That's a good question. You get angry at someone, you really stomp your foot, and then you walk away. Offenders made examples of being dealt with severely. Thing is, I agree with this, but it's going a little bit too much. They still got the umpires union wanted more than this. I don't see that. If you want to do the 1 game suspension, I really don't. I looked at this and I'm like, okay, toss him in the game. Yeah, definitely. Throwing a bat, I get it. Yeah, balls and strikes, sure. 3rd time I've said that. I really want to make that point. Not sure I would have suspended, And I guess the idea of, well, you can't make any contact with an umpire. This is about as minimal contact as you are going to get. This is why, you see those old back in the day films of Billy Martin kicking dirt on an umpire. Because he knows he can't touch him. So he kicks dirt on him, that's... Anyway, the suspension of Machado, you got to give him because there was the contact. Again, it was elevator contact, if you will. All right, you got to hold that up. More, you can tweet all you want to umpires union. I don't think it's worth that. And you know what? I guess if you go by the letter, you strict enforcement of the law, strict enforcement of the rules. James Bond is playing golf with Goldfinger. Okay, I get it. Yeah, no, that's fine. Under that reasoning, 1-game suspension, yes. But this is like when unions collide. Players' union says no. Umpires' union says more. I kind of think the 1-game, although the Padres probably are getting a little bit worse for the wear for it, probably the way to go. Yeah. Some NASCAR news. We'll talk about this in 2 days with Jerry Bonkowski. I guess, there was all that talk, the truck race in Iowa. Johnny Saunter has been suspended for one race for intentionally ramming into Austin Hill. This is, absolutely destroying my faith in the sport because I kept hearing it stemmed from the moonshine running. And what did you do in moonshine running? Well, all right. They're running in St. Louis in the Truck Series. By the way, Sauter's postseason eligibility won't be affected if you are a big Truck Series fan. But no, Hill nicked the back of Sauter's truck at Iowa Speedway, sending Sauter into the wall, drawing caution flag. Sunday's race was still under yellow, and Sauter got his truck spun around again straight before speeding up and driving right in the back of Hill's truck. I kind of like the way he handles that. So, NASCAR put Sauter out the rest of the race, and he'll be out the next one, too. Hill, by the way, there's a real big rivalry, because they were bumping each other in Texas, too. That's like, you know what this is? I'm curious about this, because I know you get this, like, when a hard check in hockey knocks out a star player or something like that. Next time these two teams play, guy that knocked out the star player, the goon is after him. There's gonna be a fight. This is the thing about the suspension. I mean, somehow it's the Truck Series. You gotta want to see this Sauter-Hill rivalry banging around on the track. It's the Truck Series, for crying out loud. You need something to watch. No, I'm not saying they shouldn't have suspended him. You can't be having, this become Death Race 5,000 or 3,000 or whatever that horrible movie was. But, still. You gotta have, it's stock car racing or stock truck racing. The banging around is what makes you watch it, doesn't it? Isn't that the... Yesterday, my commentary, you can read it on Medium, Marky Bilson Medium. Go follow me there. It was about basketball culture and how it's gotten a little bit political extremist. Political extremism has, of course, affected soccer into rioting. Did that happen in basketball with the shooting? But the police in Canada are looking for a fourth person. Haven't recovered the gun involved in the shooting at a rally for the Raptors after they won the championship. You know what? I'm just happy. It was the Mayor Ford that they basically, he wouldn't resign after he was found to be doing all the cocaine. He died young and all this. Are we not happy that he is not the mayor of Toronto now? I mean, think about what if he was. Just what a horrible situation this would be at this circumstance. My goodness. Predators hired 3 new coaches, developmental coaches, Rob Scuderi, Sebastian Borleo, and Dave Rook. Preds really want to find something to get them over the hump. They are doing everything in their power trying to find the next new thing, trying to find that Bill James guy that pushed the Red Sox over the hump to go to the World Series and win it back in 2004. I'm Marky Bilson. See you tomorrow.
WEMB Sports Radio.